Geez, now my throat decides to choke up. Hello! Let me turn off these speakers in the room here real quick. And maybe we can get rid of that echo. Yeah, that worked on the first try. No, it didn't. No such luck. I think the batteries in my remote control for the speakers have died. That's going to be a problem. Kind of one of those nights tonight, folks. Nothing ever goes as planned. Well, there's another way to do it, I think. Let's just go over here. Turn the volume down. All right. Let me pull up this camera here. There we go. And douse some of this other sound a little bit. Turn that down just a bit. There we go. All right. Well, things obviously aren't going quite as planned tonight. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming along for the ride tonight. I started into some stuff and then it didn't go quite the way I had anticipated or hoped. So anyway, let's say hi to folksy Koo. Welcome, Synth Seeker Luke. Glad to see you. How was your zapping? Hope that went well. Craig, Jeff, Wabbit. My goodness, Eternian. Don't want to miss anybody. Let's see. I think that's Craig. Yep, thanks for coming, everybody. So started off with a little bit of a jam. Didn't go quite as I wanted. I had a couple things kind of cut out on me at the last minute. I'm not sure what that was all about. But the lava lamp is up and going, and that's the important thing. Gotta have your lava going. So I tried to, yeah, batteries. So I tried to do some prep for this, and it didn't work out quite the way I wanted, but that's the nature of live, I think. And it's a jam, so, you know, what the heck. And, you know, I kind of teased with the best two synths in the world thing. That's a thing. So, you know, it is warm in here, Eternian. Yes, it is. Warmer than usual for some reason. Let's see if I can get the fan to work. This fan's got a bad, you know, if it's not one thing, it's another. Fan's got a bad power connector, and so sometimes it just shuts off for no apparent reason. There it goes. Forgot the donuts. And what's cool is a room VSTs. You know, yeah, I don't know. I've been fooling with VSTs today when I wasn't busy chasing contracts around and stuff like that. It's been a busy day in the office, but I did have some time, just based on catching up on folks' videos and. The fans are in the chat. Thanks. Yes, thank you. Well, appreciate it. Mike, thanks for coming by. See you there. So the lava lamp does not put out a lot of heat, really. It's a 25 watt light bulb in there, I think. No, I'll take that back. It's a 7 watt light bulb in there, so, you know, not a big deal. The thing that puts off the most heat in here is probably the polybrute, I would guess. But, you know, I've got everything powered up. It's, you know, the two controllers, the polybrute, the Take 5, you know, computer, you know, just laptops, mixers and interfaces and iPads and the OP6s. I mean, everything is turned on. And the air conditioning in this room is not the greatest. So, well, Luke's on fire. So I don't know that VSTs necessarily cool things down a lot. I don't know. Depends on how. I guess it depends on how much power your PC is sucking down. But I did spend a little bit of time today at lunch, just because of some conversations and stuff that happened in various chats and Discord and all that kind of stuff. And my camera got moved too. Anyway, I've got to spend some time playing with Diva today. Diva's kind of fun. You know, it really is about as, I think, close to a, or can be as close to a mini Moog in software as one might want to get without, you know, maybe. I don't know. It's pretty cool. And it sounds amazing. I mean, there's no two ways around it. I've got it in the kind of sort of classic mini Moogish kind of setup. And see if I can get some level here. Turn that up. This is a new. This patch is one that I did today. Just fooling around a little bit. I haven't spent a lot of time in Diva. I've had it for almost a year now and haven't really spent a lot of time with it. But it's a great sounding synth. You know, and I think this. Let's see, this one's running. This is a mini Moog in Poly. So you know, my gosh, you guys are typing like crazy. Yeah, Diva rocks, and there's that. So the funny thing, Craig, is in the wintertime, this room gets cold. The heating, well, it gets cold because the house here, I have a combination of forced air and baseboard. And so when it gets really cold, we kick over to baseboard, but I don't want the baseboard, and it's oil baseboard. I don't want the baseboard cooking in here because the baseboard heaters, are, let's see here. So the baseboard heaters run along this wall here, behind, of course, this whole stack of stuff, and then the wall over there, behind the playpen. So I don't really necessarily want to have the baseboard heat running all during the winter time if I can help it. And there's one stupid, horrible heat vent, heating and air conditioning vent up in the ceiling over here, which, you know, is really weird. It's the closest vent in the entire house to the heat to the air handler for the heat pump, and yet it gets the least amount of air in here. I got every other vent in the house mostly closed. They're right now freezing, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. I do have Zebralet running in the show tonight too, and so here's a cool thing. I've got, I don't know, a whole bunch of VSTs running along here tonight, including a couple of, you know, ones that take a fair chunk of power. You know, running in shells and this kind of thing. So you know, I'm sucking down a whole lot of CPU juice, and you know, right now I'm pulling what's that saying, 30%. And with the laptop that I had in here before, it would have been pegging. I could no way I could do this much stuff. So I'm having a great time there. What's going on here? Let's see. Diva looks right. Hive. So I own Hive, and I've not been able to get into it, and I'm not sure, honestly, why I bought it, except that it was on sale. You know, whoops, wrong button. That button. Far be it from me to turn down a sale. But I'm not sure what it gives me that some other software that I already have doesn't give me, or that I already had. And you know, I'm not sure what it gives me necessarily that I can't do in Pigments or in Vital or any number of other hybrid-ish waveform, wavetable synths, the wave state, all this kind of stuff. So I'm not sure what all it gives me that I didn't already have. So, anyway, it's not even installed at the moment, so I don't need to be there twice. So, I don't know. I have it. I'll play with it one day, I guess. Never seen a diva. I've seen more than my share. Excuse me. But I found some fun things in Diva, the soft synth today. That was there's some really fun stuff in there. That we were talking in Discord over the last couple weeks, and one of the things that's come up is binaural synths and that kind of thing. And Diva actually, in and of itself, doesn't have, that I've found yet, a whole lot of ways to do any kind of effective binaural patches. Although I'm told they're there, and maybe with some of the other oscillator types and some of the other stuff it can do it. But where it does do it nicely is in the effects section. The delay that I have running here allows you to set different. This delay allows you to set different actions in the center, left, and right channels, and then balance between them and move things around differently in space, which is really cool. If I douse everything else, let's see here. I'll just do some rude muting of channels here and make things go away. So the only thing up now is Diva. If you listen to this, I'll shut up and stop talking. If you listen to this delay, you will hear things moving around. It's really, and doing things differently in different channels. It's really pretty cool. If you got headphones on or good speakers. If you're watching on your cell phone or your iPad, this will be lost on you, so you have to come back later. But take a listen to this. I just love that motion, and it's not truly binaural, but the delay kind of gives an effect of things coming in and out differently in time. So, for a beginner's version of doing that, it came out. It's pretty nice. There are some other things in there, I guess. If you get into the other tweaks, and there's so much stuff you can get into in this, and it's just a ton of fun. And for software, it looks cool. So it's one that I'm going to dig into. I'm also digging into the WaveState software. I will say that at the moment, the WaveState is back on the bubble as far as whether or not it's going to stay here. The hardware one, the software obviously will stay. The software is fantastic, and I'm going to jerk this camera a little bit. It's off its rocker. There we go. It's making me crazy. I have to lean, it's making me a little crazy. So anyway, let's see. Could use 2 instances. Yes, absolutely. And that's one thing that I really, you can do that with pretty much any instrument. Or 2 similar instruments, different synths, but similar in a rack in Ableton Live, and have them, do their thing separately. And that is another one of the things I want to play with. Buy it once, use twice. Exactly. So so that's just, I'm thinking about it though. By its nature, wave state can do binaural, just because of the way the thing's designed, and do it fairly easily. And you hear the peeping noise. The parrot's not getting the attention she wants again. So, sorry guys. No. Well, that was supposed to, never mind. We won't go any further down that road. Can't have too many spaceships, saucers. I'm not sure. Yes, Polly the parrot. That's actually, that parrot is actually a pretty good is a fair representation of what the bird looks like. Being parrot for viewing one day. Not sure. Oh, bring. So the parrot is very definitely my wife's bird. She basically tolerates me. So I don't think she's going to come into the studio anytime soon. She's been in here. She doesn't like all the stuff and all the flashing lights and the noises and everything. It kind of freaks her out a bit. So I doubt that she'll get to come in and be in here. There was somebody, parrots do poop on synths, and no, I haven't sampled the birds. I've thought about it. I haven't gotten to it. There was a guy, I can't remember his channel or his name, but he used to do a stream regularly, and had a conure, a green sheet conure, in his studio all the time. And the bird would run around and do stuff. It was really, really quite entertaining. And that bird, a green sheet conure, if it's getting attention, can be a fairly quiet bird. And so can the Senegal parrot. If she's getting the attention she wants, then she'll be quiet and calm. But right now, I think Donna's on a stream or something, or having a chat with somebody online. I'm of course in here, so the bird can hear our voices, and we're not there. So Kanye West, I like that. So she does not like. She doesn't like iPhones and iPads, the parrot. She really freaks out about them. It's really kind of funny in some ways. And what she does like and what she doesn't like, and she'll I don't know. Birds are funny little creatures. So anyway, so I was talking earlier about break beaks. That's good. Beaked techno flap hop. Oh goodness, you guys. So anyway, I had talked about having gotten something new for the studio, and I'm gonna get you guys a little bit of a look at this gizmo. This thing is super cool. I'm getting the camera lined up to take a look at it. I have finally finally gotten the goodness that is a stream deck. And this thing, I've got it set. This has little to do with music, but it has lots to do with the show, with the streams. This thing basically takes over all of the functions of one of the iPads and more when it comes to controlling the show. And I'm just going to do a 2-minute tour of this thing, and then we'll get back to talking about music stuff and playing some music and that kind of thing. But this thing is just so cool. I got this, it showed up on Saturday, and I thought that I was going to have to spend days configuring this thing. Well, for the most part, I had it done in 3 hours, and it was just refining. The whole setup took, you know, just a few hours. So what it does is, well, I'll take you on a quick tour. So right now we're looking at what is the primary switcher control. And so what this gives me is the red buttons at the top are what is on air. The green ones are what's up next. And then there's special controls wrapped around here. So these 3 buttons here control what's going to happen in the next group of transitions. So the background is choosing between these guys. BG is background. K1 is the key, and that is right now being used to bring up the little box in the upper right hand corner. The downstream key is the graphic overlay, and let me jump over and get a different graphic loaded real quick, and then we'll talk about that. So we'll do this one, go back to here. So if I put, I can either make downstream key switch with everything else. So I could do, let's see, that in preview, that in preview, and that in preview. So all 3 things are going to go at one time. Basically, when I push this button, push the auto button, it's going to fade out the box in the upper right. It's going to switch the camera and put up a lower third graphic like this. So all of that goes at once. To do that before, I had to go through all kinds of gyrations and made lots of mistakes. So that, yes, EQ, yes, that is the rabbit hole. NDI is a good question, Luke. Yes and no. So I'm using this in conjunction with a program called Companion. Companion allows it to speak NDI. In and of itself, and a lot of other protocols as well. I'm actually using Companion because it doesn't know how to talk to a Blackmagic Design switcher. I use a Blackmagic Design switcher. Out of the box, it talks to OBS pretty well. With Companion, you can talk to NDI devices, which is pretty cool. Hey, Eric. Thanks for joining. Good to see you. You can also talk with Companion. You can also talk to a lot of professional broadcast gear. So it's really, this is really right in my area of stuff these days. It comes in like 3 different sizes. It comes in a little cute one that's like 6 buttons, and it comes in this one, and then it comes in a larger one that is 32 buttons. I'm wishing I'd bought the one with 32 buttons, but this is great. So what I've done is I've set up a series of menus that I showed quickly that let me set up different things and then come back to the switcher for control. So if I go to my menu, I come back to the switcher. I can choose my upstream key, which is the corner box, the source for that. So for instance, I have camera 1, camera 2, camera 3 tonight is actually what I'm using to monitor the stream. So you can see that up in the box. It's the output from a little Chromebook where I can put the computer up there, whatever I want to be in that floating box. And I can take that on and off air here with this button in this menu. And for some reason it went back to the lower third. I'm not sure what that was about, but okay. Oh, I know why, because that's what it was sitting in preview. And I didn't see it. So there's that. Next menu, macros. So macros, actually let's skip this one for a second because I got something set up wrong. This switcher has a number of still stores. So I've got my, let's do this. Let me jump back over here. Can I do that? can't do that. Didn't program it. I was going to see if I could put the still store images up in the box, but I didn't set up for that. So you got the full screen, which you've seen. Do this, but this is on air. I've got the downstream key for the Jamtaba jams here. My like subscribe graphic. This one's got to be redone, but this is one that says we're only doing a jam. And then I got some full screen stills, which we'll get to in a little bit later. And I can use these two buttons to switch, just to go between them, like so. That's an old one from something else, jump through stuff. They're not exactly in order. They're in order of that they're stored in the they're stored in the system, not in the order that I have them on buttons. So I can do that. Now we'll go back to the macros. Macros, I can store up to 100 macros in the switcher. It'll let me set up things like, the one that I do most of the time is this one. I push the button. It brings up the like and subscribe lower third for 10 seconds or something like that, 7 seconds, then drops it back out. And then reloads, which you can't see, but it reloads the full screen slate graphic back into the still store for reuse later. But that's stored in the switcher itself. And then I've got the ability to show my various outputs. So I got a fade to black. I've got start and stop the stream, start and stop recording. And then these five along the bottom are what I'm looking at on my big display. So, so let's zoom out here. Let's zoom out here. And tilt up a little bit. So this is the screen that I see during the show. And so I monitor audio either through studio speakers or through headphones, which is what I'm doing now. And then I have levels. Basically, everything comes in on one channel in the audio mixer. And so you can see I've got big VU meter here, and I've got smaller VU meters down here. Basically, I've also got something that shows my my stream rate, my streaming information, my recording information. Tells me how long I've been on. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I had the tighter shot, I had those times also going in the little buttons on the stream deck, which is pretty cool. So I can use these buttons along the bottom to look at different things in different uses of the room or during a podcast or a streamcast. I can jump in. I can look at the computer full screen. Now, the problem with that is that when I do that, I tend to forget what I'm doing, and I get into this, and I've switched away, and I'm off talking. So I've got to come up with a better way to deal with that. But I can do that switch around, so I can see different things. I can look, I can look at my smiling face huge on the screen. Who wants to do that? I can look at the down shot and get that really cool video feedback effect in this case. Or I can look at this, or I can look at whatever I want to look at. So that is the new toy in the studio. Let's see, was there anything else in the menu? Specials. This got some special controls in there that let me change. Those are things in development or in. There's going to be more. Right now, it's just got my fade rates in frames for the master, for all the effects. So I've also set up a button that always takes me back to this screen in a particular configuration so that I'm just ready to go with the next thing. So that was the new toy. These things, I put off getting one. So glad that finally glad that I did. So let's see, NDI network protocol, yes. And you can do just to expand on NDI. It's It's not just video. You can send camera control. All kinds of things can get moved over NDI. Although there's some things that it can't do that are kind of a shortcoming and becoming a problem for some folks. But it does do video, audio, control. There are some ancillary data channels involved. But if you really, there are other standards if you really need to get heavy. Like you can't send closed caption data over NDI. It is a very convenient way to get, as Luke does, get your iPhone video into OBS. Or if you're using a VSRT / NewTek TriCaster, those are the folks that invented NDI. With their stuff, you can do all kinds of stuff over NDI. I've got clients that use it. The local school system has VSRT TriCasters in many of the schools, and also in their production facility, and they can pick up any of the TriCasters on the network within the school system on their TriCaster in their master control automation system. They can pick up NDI, so any NDI sources. Not only that, they can grab individual cameras from any of the locations and bring them up into their main studio control. Iku, good night. Thanks for coming, and we'll chat some more. But these things, the Stream Deck can talk through the companion software, can talk to the TriCaster. So it doesn't really do NDI in and of itself, but it talks to NDI-enabled devices. So you can do... I haven't looked at all the NDI stuff because I only have one NDI-enabled device at this point, and it's not... I don't have it on the network yet, but the overhead shot camera does NDI. So at some point maybe I'll set it up and get a screen going for it. I just haven't got it on the network. Yeah, so iPhones, if you don't do the trade-in, I mean, they make decent cameras. I was using the 6S until as my camera 3 until it finally died. It won't stay on for more than a few minutes now, so there's an issue there. Only 5:38 p.m. Still waiting for a work call. Ugh. Yeah, I've stopped picking up the phone after 5 o'clock. So let's see what else we got here. Make sure I'm not missing anything. So I can put all the menus on. So I have the Stream Deck, at least the way I'm set up, there are 100 screens or 100 sets of buttons. So basically, or 99, I guess it is 99, or does it start on 0? I can't remember. Anyway, there's 99 or 100 sets of buttons. And so I put my menu on number 99, and then it points to the other ones. So this menu, when I go back to this menu, each one of these and then the sandbox down here is a different page with its set of up to 15 different things. And what I did with mine was, when you go into a particular menu that's not the switcher itself, there's always a button to take you straight to the switcher. Logic being that you're going to go do something, you want to return to... You're going to say, I'm going to go do a thing. So if in the switcher, I need to reassign the downstream key. So I go to the menu, I go to my media, I choose my media. Now the next thing I'm going to want to do is use that media in some way. I may want to put it straight on air. So I went ahead and included myself a downstream button so I could bring that up. and take it back out. I may want to do something else, which is at the switcher. So I don't want to go through the menu to get back to the switcher. I just want to go straight back to the switcher. So every screen other than the switcher has a quick return to the switcher. So that uses 2 buttons on every screen. The menu system uses 2 buttons on every screen, but I think it's worthwhile to do that. And so. Excuse me, I started streaming, Eric, because I'm lazy. This is, there's no post-production in this. So if I'm doing a show, if I'm doing a production for an actual show, I love to edit a program. But editing stuff for this is a drag. So there are times that I will do I've done edited pre-produced stuff that I've uploaded in the past. I'm sure that I will again. Right now I'm enjoying coming in here on a Monday night, pushing the button and going for 45 minutes to an hour or an hour and a half, whatever it ends up being. So it's being a lot of fun. So anyway, I spent more time on that than I wanted to, but there it is. That's the cool new toy. It's making, so far, if you noticed tonight, with the exception of the demo where I didn't really have the demo planned, there's been one switcher error tonight. Usually by now I'd have had 4 or 5 because I'm, farting around with the iPad trying to figure this. When I do edit, I use one of 2 things. Depends on how complex the edit is going to be. If I needed to do something complex, I use DaVinci Resolve. I used to be a big Premiere guy. I got tired of paying $59 a month, every month, for Premiere and Photoshop and Lightroom and 7 other programs I don't use. So I use Resolve now, DaVinci Resolve now. It's a great program, does everything that Premiere does and more, and it's free. Can't beat that. Blackmagic at the Blackmagic Design site, it's free. There is a pro version, a paid version, and they also offer some hardware controllers for specific functions. If you buy those, the pro version typically comes with them at no extra charge. And depending on what the device is, they're a couple $100 to several $1,000. It depends on what device it is that you're using. So Resolve is pretty cool. It had kind of a learning curve for me because I had been using either Adobe Premiere or earlier versions of Final Cut Pro. Well, I've been using Adobe Premiere since version 1. And I started using Final Cut at version 4 and used that up to just before they went to the Final Cut X, which I think was version 7. Was the last version before they went to 10 or X or whatever you want to call it. And I didn't move on to use the new Final Cut for a couple of reasons. One, I didn't have Macs at my disposal anymore, and the other was that I find that it doesn't work as well for the style of editing that I typically do. If I were doing long-form film-like production, if I were doing movies, I would absolutely love Final Cut Pro 10 because it's working the way it is, the way it's laid out, the way it functions is like a film editor. It works like a thing called a streamdeck. Which is a professional film editing platform, and if I were doing movies or that kind of thing, I'd be all over buying a Mac and doing that. Anyway, when I'm not using for the lightweight stuff, which is really most of what I do, but for the lightweight stuff, if you have Microsoft Office, a paid version of Microsoft Office, they have a little editor that's included now. They've gone away from the Windows Movie Maker thing, and they bought a thing from another company called Clipchamp, and it's actually really nice and really simple. And it just, it's a little clunky in some ways. If you use just the version that comes with Office, there's an upgrade version that looks like it's a little better, but I don't use it enough to really make it worthwhile. So those are the editing programs that I use, and I only do a small amount of editing. So somebody's texting me. What's going on here? Excuse me just a second. Let me look at my watch and see if I can see what he's up to. Okay, he's out gallivanting around. So anyway, it's the fellow that was the rhythm guitar player in my old band. And he and I and the old female lead vocalist had a little trio. So anyway, he's finally playing back at a place where we used to play all the time. So anyway, that's that. You have Premiere 2. Only Final Cut I have is the Pink Floyd album. That might be better. Yeah, I don't know ScreenFlow. I've heard of it. I don't know it, Luke. So I don't know how it compares. I also don't know Filmora, Craig. I know of it, but I don't really know it. And I've been like a lot of editors. Once you get into using a particular application, you pretty much stick with that platform. And I've used a bunch, things that became other things, like, and I can't remember the name of it, but there's an editor that we got when I worked for a small TV station a number of years ago, and it came with it came with Fusion. Fusion was included with it before Fusion became part of DaVinci Resolve. Now, this particular program did not flow into, editing system did not flow into DaVinci Resolve, but Fusion went over. So who knows? Don't know what the deal was with that, or what the machinations were behind that. But anyway, so that's that stuff. I've rambled on long enough about this. Let's see. What else? There were some other things I wanted to talk about tonight. I didn't write them down because today, today, Mondays are usually a pretty light day for me. I go down, I do some bookkeeping. On alternate Mondays, I run company payroll to pay myself. This pay credit card bill, all that, this stuff that goes along with the business. Usually a pretty light day. Today turned into not a light day. I spent all day in emails and telephone calls, and so I didn't have time to. I had all these ideas, and they didn't get written down. So I forgot what it was that I wanted to get on about. I guess, though, I did tease, the two best synths in the world as my opener for this, and so I am gonna talk about that because I have the two best synths in the world, bar none, and yes, I did watch some. I did get to watch some YouTube, but not much. So anyway, these are the two best synths in the world, and you can't beat them, at least as far as analog synths are concerned. OpSix, OpSix and Wave State, obviously. So I've got an OpSix. It's been playing tonight. It's in the mix right now. It's doing this thing. So you joke, Craig, about Casio, but I'll tell you what. Those folks have made some nice synths. Okay, CZ series was nothing to scoff at. Those are great synths. The XWP1 or XPW, whatever that weird wedge-shaped silver thing with the orange logos was. That thing was really a cool synth. Sounded great. My problem with Casio synths. And they make some excellent sounding digital pianos. So, my problem with Casio synths has always been down to build quality. My experience with them, and I've had a CZ1000 in my life. I've had a couple of their digital pianos, and a couple other Casios. I had a WK7600 that I used when I couldn't carry much of anything because of my neck surgery. The thing weighed 7.5 pounds, had 73 keys, sounded great, and weighed, and did anything I needed it to do, quick and easy. So I've had a few Casio synths over the years. Every one of them suffered from exactly the same problem, and that is the jacks for audio output and for sustain and expression pedals are junk. They fall apart internally, every one of them. Not only did it happen on the ones that I owned, friends of mine have had CZs over the years. Every one of them suffers from the same problem. I have a drawer full of Casio output jacks downstairs so that I can fix things for people. So drilling on the Take 5, what we got here? Notes about things that are great. Pro 3 is up there, yes. Pro 3 is a cool synth. Sounds great. I would put it up against any other synth in its class and probably put it on top. But my what else we got here? Venus Theory uses Casio as its daily driver. So here's a story for you. And I haven't got all the details on this, but I believe that so Tom Brislin, who's the keyboardist for Kansas now, he had been for a number of years using a Casio digital piano for the acoustic set that Kansas was doing. A couple months ago in Quebec, he had some sort of failure with, and he just said his digital piano. He didn't say what it was, but I suspect it was still his Casio. Had some sort of failure on stage with the Casio. The next day, he walked into a Sam Ash that was still open and bought a Yamaha, the Montage X or Montage M, Montage 6M. He bought. Just walked in the store and bought one. So I don't know if it was the Casio. I haven't talked to him. Tom and I talk periodically. I have not talked to Tom to see if it was the Casio that failed him, in which case I think he got much more mileage out of it than anybody else might. But something failed on him. He said digital piano, and as far as I know, that's what he was still using for that piece. And the next night he was playing. The next show he was playing with the Yamaha on stage. So there's that. But so you joke about Casio, but if except for that, Casio makes nice instruments. They don't even feel like junk, except for the really low end ones. But I mean the pro models don't even really feel like junk. They feel decent. They're not great. It's not like it's not like a Yamaha or it's not like a Nord, but it's not a horrible instrument. Even the WK7600 that I had, it didn't. It played well. It didn't feel bad. And I used it for. I can't remember how many months, how many gigs I did with it. I did a few. Did quite a few gigs with it. And it did great. So, you know, nursing home, that's what I'll be left with. The Casio watch. Let's see. I got you drooling on the Take 5. Luke wants the Take 5 and the TEO 5. So that's a thing. If the TEO 5 had been out when I bought the Take 5, I'm not sure which one I would have bought. At some level, they're essentially the same synthesizer. And people argue with me on that, but the platform, the underlying platform on both of them is the same. And because both companies at the time of this, at some time, got to using the same basic hardware, just using it in different ways. So, you know, on the push this button here. On the Take 5 is laid out. So you've got, you know, your oscillators and your mixer and your filter. And then arrayed around it are all your stuff. You've got your LFOs and your effects and your envelopes and, you know, all these things going on around it. The TEO 5, the filter's here. The oscillator mixer section is here. Now, that's laid out, you know, the layout of these items is different, but the function is exactly the same. What's more, they're using the same filter chip and the same oscillator chip. I do suspect that if you were to actually get out the schematics for the two of them, you'd see that they're the same, exactly the same, with the different values of resistors and capacitors and things that surround those two chips, and in the way the controls are wired. But other than that, I would venture to bet you'd find it's the same synthesizer in there. And so, you know, stop it. There we go. So I don't know which I would buy, except for which control layout did I like better. And, you know, the other side of it is that, you know, I would probably have taken the Take 5 because I'm a sequential fanboy. I'll come out and admit it. I'm a sequential fanboy going way back. You know, my first analog synth was a Prophet 600, and so I've had a love affair with sequentials ever since. And Parrot's making you smile. Yeah, she's not happy. What we got here? There's a maybe thing going on here. Let's see what we got going on here. I don't having problems with the chat. Let's see. One problem with layout here right now is that the Chromebook sits up too high, and I got to look at the bottom. These are trifocals. I got to look at the bottoms of them. So let's see. Need to sell a couple others first. Yeah. Is that a chicken? Guess it was. Okay. On the Discord. Oh. Yes, I can't watch the Discord while I'm watching this. Old Man Eyes. Yep. So... yeah, and yeah, not just, by the way, not just sequential. Yeah, Dave Smith. I'm a Dave Smith fan, I've been a Dave Smith fan forever, you know, and Bob Moog. I mean, I was a big Bob Moog fan too. So as you say, get myself some 32-inch monitors. The main monitor, with the multi-viewer and everything, that's a 32-inch, and you know. Since we're just talking, I got this fancy device here. I can go over to the menu and I can go to the output screen and I can look at that Chromebook full screen. So there we go on a 32-inch screen. So what do we got going on? Old Man Eyes, and you search for my iProgram in the 60s with. okay. Yeah, there's so much going with my eyes at this point. They're done. So let's see. Anyway, so you're talking about space in the playpen. Instrument. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So the Schecter guitars, Craig, they do use a different jack than the Casio. Because I've repaired a few of those for guys too. And yeah, problem with guitar jacks, even good ones don't. Even good ones have problems because there's so much. Unlike a synth, there's so much plugging and unplugging that goes on with a guitar, especially for guys who are gigging with them all the time. It's they're plugged and unplugged and plugged and unplugged and unplugged and unplugged and plugged all night long for however many gigs they do, plus however many rehearsals, plus however many practices at home and whatever. So those jacks get more abuse, I think, than quarter-inch jacks anywhere except for old switchboards, which were really the same kind of jack. But if you ever look at an old telephone switchboard, and you look at the plugs on the cables that are used in an old telephone switchboard, you'll notice that the plugs are designed differently. And the plug it's more tapered than the plugs that we use for audio. And it allows them to slide in and out of those jack bays easier. It's easier on much easier on the jack or on the plug. So that's maybe we should be using those for our audio patches, except that they're a slightly different size and they'll be loose in the jacks. I think they make that kind. It's called a Bantam plug, and I think they make them in actual quarter-inch too. I'm not sure. I don't have space, Craig, for a 43. I just know 32 is pushing it. And that kind of got back to the part of the discussion from last week and the week before that this table needs to be bigger. I don't know if that's going to happen because, as I said earlier, I'm basically lazy. And I don't know that I want to undo this all this again right now and put it in the new tables. Maybe sometime after I retire, I'll do that. We'll see. So sometime next spring or summer, maybe, if all goes well. So anyway, let's see what we got going on. So here's the thing. There's someone out there on the interwebs, and I'm not going to name any names because that wouldn't be good. But and it's kind of sort of what prompted my best synth on the synth in the world comments. His premise is that the two best. Well, it varies with the day of the week, I think, what he calls the best synth, but he's been on a kick that the Prophet Rev 2 16 voice is the best synth. And I don't know. Thoughts? Something. Well, so if you've been following a couple of folks out there with any regularity, they've been having this kind of sort of. A couple of guys have been having this kind of sort of brutal discussion as to whether the best synth is the new Moog Muse, or this guy's convinced that it's the Rev 2. But, a couple months ago, his opinion of what the best synth in the world was the Pro 3. and I don't know what it was before that. But Jeff, you're absolutely right. It's not what is the best synth. That's the point. It's not the best synth. It's what's the best synth for you and the kind of music that you want to make. Now, the Prophet Rev 2 is a great synth. It really is. But it suffers from many of the same limitations as the, get ready for this, the Prophet 600. It's the same lineage, Yes, it is it's not Sammy, Luke. It's not Sammy. It's that other guy. Sammy can't decide what the best synth is. He hasn't. I'm not sure what he's pulled the trigger on something, but his latest love. No, not him either. It's the third in that little triangle. SP. He's trying to tell. Not to name names. Okay, we've gone there, And I like these guys. I mean, they're fun, and they make fun of each other. I'm sure they probably talk about me behind my back. What the heck, It's all in fun, and honestly, it's all in fun. So Synthpunk has been trying to convince Synth Samurai that he should buy a Rev 2, and Sammy wants to buy I think he wants him. I don't know what he wants. I don't think he knows what he wants. And I've kind of sort of said, you guys, I can't watch this. This is too much of my time. That's the other thing. These guys are online live, like 5-6 times a day. I don't know how they have that much time. I really don't. I don't know the back. There's a backstory that I don't know and don't need to know. It's just every time I turn around, one of them's going live. Samurai went live 3 times today in a 3-hour stretch, and they do. They stream from their cars, their shenanigans are fun, but yes, they can be mean. And Synthpunk was it today decided that that he was going to rail on Starsky Carr, and I kind of sort of drew a line there at that, said that Starsky panders to people because he doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. What he didn't seem to realize is that Starsky doesn't get anything for free like a lot of these guys do, or very rarely gets anything sent to him. He buys every synth that he reviews / compares, and he doesn't really do reviews. He does comparisons, typically. So apparently the dude hasn't really been paying a whole lot of attention to what Starsky actually does. Anyway, it does cross the line from time to time, and I think today was one of them, and I kind of had my fill for a bit. So, that's the way that goes. Starsky is great, and some of the things Starsky does more than just the comparisons. He did a series. A deep dive series into how wavetables get made. Really excellent. And and why some wavetable packages or some wavetables that you get kind of suck. And so and it's stuff that I knew because I've done it, but the he explained it in a way that was far better than I could ever explain how it all works. So, you know, and he does some fun and silly comparisons that I think are a lot of fun. He compared the Behringer, excuse me, Pro VS thing, the little tiny gizmo it sells for either 49 or 99 bucks, whichever. I can't remember which series it's in, but it's like, yeah, it's this big, and it's a inspired by, is the way I'm going to describe it, a Prophet VS. So he compared it to a real Prophet VS. He got a hold of a real Prophet VS, or maybe even had it in collection, I can't remember. Real Prophet VS versus this thing, and compared the two side by side. You know, and it's fun stuff, you know, neat stuff. And Luke, I'm the same way. I will support creatives, and you know, if they go across those lines, I step away for a while, and I'll come back. You know, I'll give them a break, and then I'll come back, and you know, it's because I really enjoy the vast majority of the synth stuff and music stuff that is on YouTube right now, and in other various forums. You know, the community is fun, exactly, and that to me, and I know to Wabbit, is what a lot of this is about. It's got to be fun. If it's not fun, I stop doing stuff, because you know, I don't have the time for not enjoying things anymore. You know, I look at folks who I watch the you know, all the various forums and news sources, and I see the people who have passed, many before their time, and you know, I realized that it could be me that's, you know, on the list to go soon. I don't know. I don't know that I am. I don't know that I'm not. But you know, and so it's kind of a sobering thing. I hate doing downer stuff on the stream, but you know, I do music, or I have done music for money. You know, but again, it's one of those instances where it's got to be fun. When it ceases being fun, I cease to do it. It's like my old band. You know, it stopped being fun. And so it was time for me to do something else. You know, so now probably 85% of my music is this. What I'm doing, the stuff that I goof around with in here, release the occasional song. One of these days I'll get off my fat buttocks and release the album that's in production, and other stream references that I haven't seen. So okay, or did maybe and missed it, but anyway. Oh, that, yes, I do remember that. That's from Sunday. You know, so anyway, I look at some of these folks who've died. The most recent was the guy who was the lead vocalist for Great White. He just passed away last week, and he's, you know, younger than me. I think. We're right around the same age. It's you know, it's like, oh my gosh. And I don't know why. I don't know what he. Oh no, I do know what he died from. 63. He was 63 years old, so he's 2 years older than me. He died from the same things that my dad passed away from 2 years ago. The Lewy body dementia and MSA. Multiple systems atrophy. At 63 years old, you know, that's something that typically doesn't happen to folks until they're in their 80s or 90s or so. So I don't know what all. I don't know what all, and I don't know what his lifestyle was like. I don't know what his was like prior. I don't know if he was sick for a long time or even just a couple of months or what. I don't know. But you know, it's a yeah. And Keith Richards is about to celebrate his, you know, and so part of me says, you know, Craig, the heck with all the healthy stuff. Drink and pickle yourself, and you'll last longer. You know, it's like Luke, don't drink because your heart will explode. So we don't want that. But you know, so don't drink, Luke. Come up with some other way to preserve yourself. And yeah, and so blood transfusions, that helps. Sure, absolutely. That's another way to cleanse. It's a way to cleanse the body. You know, I don't think it would be something that I would want to do, but you know, hey, if it keeps you going, and he's not the only one that's been. Cooking wine counts. The alcohol cooks out. Wow. Wow. I don't know about the JP guys. I don't know. They're an interesting bunch. Vampires. So, the other ones that I wondered why they're still, how they're not why, but how they're still alive. Willie Nelson. I mean, he's celebrating his 394th or 3940th birthday, I think. You know, he's right up there with Keith. These guys are still rocking it. That blows my mind, and I'm glad that they're able to do it. I really am. That some of these folks are still able to do it. I won't let them die until he pays them back. That's good. I like that. You know, I've never been to a live JP show, and that's one that's on the list. Metallica's on my list too. That's the band that I've had a love relationship with. They went through an asshole phase, and they've grown up. They've matured and grown up as people, and it's amazing to see the change. Oh, I know another one. I don't know how he's still alive. Is Ozzy Osbourne, and I know Sharon had a lot to do with him still being alive. But that's, you know, he's I don't know how he's still alive. I guess, like I said, as he has said, it's Sharon that saved his life. So, so that's anyway. Enough of the this talk about the dead and dying and not dead and undead and whatever they are. Eating bats, protein. Yeah, Sabbath was an amazing band. Ozzy's an amazing guy. His solo stuff is amazing. You know, they're just, you know, they're cool folks. And as you say, Craig, a lot of bands and artists go through phases of being, you know, incredibly annoying people, to put it nicely. And I've met some of them. You know, and synth talk, yes. So, synth talk. Let's actually talk about. Let's get back to the digital synth question. So I've had some email finally from Dan at Tall Dog. He doesn't know if he's going to do another run of cases for these RPI Korgs. From the RPI Korgs, and we'll get to the C15. Don't. Well, I'll come around to that in a minute. So I don't. That puts the wave state itself back on the bubble because I really don't want it in its keyboard state, and You know, I really also, I love I do really enjoy playing around with the VST version. I'm able to do some really neat stuff with it. I really don't like that hardware. I really don't like that panel. So if I can't get it into a case, either from Dan or Luke, as you suggest, maybe someone who bought one and didn't use it, it is going to go, and something else will come in its place. And not sure what that's going to be, but with the advent of the user presets, user control presets for the Control S, and being able to lay out the screens pretty much the way I want to, being able to have up to 16 screens of eight knobs and 8 buttons each. One thing that actually comes back onto the table for me is a Blofeld. Because the problem that I have with the Blofeld is the user interface, is again the user interface. What I like is that everything about it, or almost everything about it, can be controlled through CC values. One thing that the Control S upgrade did not bring was NRPN controls, so it doesn't do everything. I can't get it to talk completely to the Take 5 because there's a lot of stuff in the Take 5. A lot of the good stuff in the Take 5 is accessed through using NRPNs instead of CCs. So yeah, and that's the thing. That's it, Luke. You know, sell the wave state, keep the VST, buy the Blofeld, and you know, it may not be the Blofeld. It may be there are other things that we've talked about. You know, I could really blow the budget and buy the Peak. The Iridium is man, I'd love to have one. I would love to have an Iridium, but it's just not something I'm going to be able to buy. Or the Muse. No, see, the thing is that this, Eric, I've got analog covered. I'm well covered with analog between the Polybrute and the Take 5 and the Pro 800. There's a Pro 800 up on the shelf that's not wired in at the moment. So between those three, I think I've got analog well enough covered. If I were to buy another analog synth, there's a couple that are well up on the list. No, not a tiny little €3 rack. No, maybe yes. So one of the things that I've been waiting anxiously for, it's finally here, is the new Behringer Proton. It's finally starting to ship. It does wave folding. It does, you know, it's got a couple oscillators, a couple filters, you know, all this stuff. Sounds great. Reasonable price. So that may be an avenue. Luke, I do like what you're doing with the Matriarch, and then a small add-on rig, Eurorack rig. I think that's a neat idea. And the Matriarch is really sweet. It's well out of any budget. And again, I don't see buying much in the way of any more analog gear. But other analog gear that is kind of sort of on that, floating around on that list of things that I might buy. Even Mother 32, even though it's only a mono. There was another one in my head that went away. But there's a couple of the small Behringers that I like, and they sound great. As Luke, as you said the other day, you know, the Model D sounds pretty much like a Mini Moog. You know, they sound great. Hey Tracy, good to see you. You say the modular hybrid is a collector's spurge. I don't know that it's impractical. It's not cheap, but I don't think it's. I think it's a great idea, a great way to take a synth that's a great foundation, and then make it the instrument that you want it to be. And so I think it's a great idea and eminently practical for you, because it's going to be your instrument. It's going to be your custom instrument, and I think that's really really a fantastic idea. The labyrinth, Eric, that you mentioned, it's really interesting, and I think that paired with a Mother 32 or with a neutron or proton from Behringer, I think that could be a really fun. Those could be really fun combinations. So those things are floating out there, but they're not the next thing that I need. I don't need those things because I've got ways to accomplish much of what they do. The labyrinth being outside of that set because it does certain things that I'm not sure what tools I have to do that at the moment. But it's the kind of thing that I could probably figure out a way to do. So I'm keeping. Hey, well, good to see you. So I don't. So back to Luke. I don't agree that what you're doing is impractical. It would be impractical for me, but I think it is with those specific instruments. But I think it is within my budget. I think there's a way to do something similar practically. You know, so I think it's a cool idea. It's got my wheels turning. So Eric, you bring up the DeepMind 12, and this kind of will dovetail into that. This kind of rings a bell. It's something I wanted to talk about. Talking about great synths that are out there. The DeepMind 12 is an amazing sounding synth, and I know it's supposed to be a copy of a Juno something or another. It's not. I mean, it's got the same bits and pieces that most synths have. It's got oscillators, it's got a filter, it's got a mixer, it's got a amp, it's got those, it's got envelopes, LFOs, and those kind of things. But I think that it is well beyond the Juno that allegedly inspired it, or that people think inspired it. I think it's and $800. My gosh, that's what I looked it up on. I think the 12 is $800 on at Sweetwater, and you could probably find a used one for $500, or less. What a value, I don't think that is a synth that can be beat. Say it's inspired by. Does it have UFOs? I'm trying to think of a other than the flying object. I wonder. So Jeff, here's your new model. Design a modulation device. Call it the UFO. We'll see what we're going to do. We'll see what we can do with it. Luke typo from earlier. Are they even close to each other on the keyboard? Not really. Anyway, fading fast. Oh yeah, because thanks Luke for coming to get some sleep. We will chat more later. I'll flip around real quick and saying that I think the C15, just before you go real quick, I think the C15 is an amazing sounding instrument that is absolutely the most oddball design I have ever encountered for all the things that it does. Beautiful sounding instrument, absolutely amazing sounding instrument, all the demo stuff that I've heard of it. I'd like to poke it one day, but man, it does a lot of things that for me need knobs. you know, I don't like push button interfaces for that kind of thing. So anyway, Luke, good night. We'll catch up, and it calls to you. Yeah. Yeah, the C4 is explosive. Oh, jeez. So yeah, it has its appeal. It has its appeal. That's for sure. But so do a lot of them. So anyway, good night, Luke. Have a good rest, and we'll chat some tomorrow, I'm sure. Although I have a really what is going on tomorrow? I have a busy day. This week was going to be nice and calm, and I had like 2 appointments and little appointments. Like I was going to run out to one client and move a couple of cables and finish off the project. That's ballooned into something else. You know, another meeting tomorrow that was supposed to be a short, simple one is going to be half the day. And then they got something that popped up on Thursday. It's like, oh, the whole week's, you know. I was looking forward to a nice, relaxing week of a few chats on the phone and some remote access to people's systems and doing some things and then playing with synths. But I guess that's the way it goes. It is, yes, it is about how it works sometimes. I wish if it would spread out. Like last week, I did much of nothing for the whole week. I think I was on site one day for a job that I've already been paid for, so I couldn't even bill extra money for it. The job is paid for, you know, and but that was part of the plan. It was scheduled. I mean, it's not like I would want to be able to bill more for it because I billed for the job in advance, did the job, or I'm doing the job. Next visit will about finish the job. But it was supposed to be a simple visit this week and not an elongated one. Is what it is. You know, I billed for a day anyway, so not like it's a big deal. Yeah, it's been crazy since mine was not crazy starting at 6, but it started getting crazy right at 9. That's for sure. Let's see, anything else? Anyway, oh my gosh, it's 9:30, past 9:30 for me, and my meeting tomorrow got big, so I'm probably gonna take off pretty soon. I'll turn up the volume on the synths again, play a few notes, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then come back and call it a night. I'd like to thank everybody who has come out tonight. My gosh, it's been a great crowd tonight. Lots of fun, lots of chatter. This is great. I love it when streams go like this. So, Wabbit and Luke and Will and Craig and Tracy and Eric and Jeff and Eternity and Iku, who left earlier, Tracy. My gosh, everyone who came out tonight has been a lot of fun. Yeah, let me play some music, and then I'll come back and we'll close out. Because I working with, I needed a break. That's good. Good. That's good, Craig. Yeah, breaks. Well, like I said, I'm looking. I'm looking to wind this business of working down. I've been doing it for too long. So anyway, time to make some music. One should not have the speaker turned up that loud when he opens the mic. So Craig, thank you for telling me something there. I turned this whole synth bus down earlier, and that's why everything's so quiet. So sorry about that, guys. I will turn the synth bus back up where it belongs. And I don't remember why I turned it down. So anyway, I'm going to turn the speaker back. I'm going to turn my mic off and turn the speaker back on so I can hear what I'm doing. Okay. So saw some glanced over at the chat. So real quick, I will do a little bit of song and dance on the polybrute for you. Polybrute 12, and similarly the Matrix brute. They share some similarities. Let me do a whiz bang camera move to look more closely at the polybrute. This will jump. Zoom, boom. Okay, so polybrute. This area here, I saw some question or some notes or comments there that it is the matrix, and that is indeed one of its functions. So along here, these are modulation sources, and then I've got a number of, I think, 32 different destinations that I can define. So I get to choose all of the modulation destinations that I want to use in my patches. And so so this particular patch is actually pretty sparse. I have just 7 destinations, and you can see all of the patching right here. I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different modulation routes that aren't predefined ones. Turn that down the rest of the way. So that's what that is when this light is lit. In this mode, it's my preset selector, and it there's a buttload of a whole buttload of them. I'm going to do this real quick too, so I can see the chat while I'm running my yap. Boom, ba-doom, 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 boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. Okay, so so this mode it's for selecting patches. In this mode, it accesses the sequencer, and the sequencer has lanes for note and some modulation as well. And so there's that. And then in this mode, it controls this section of it gets where I can control how the morphing feature between the two presets, or the two parts of a preset, work. Most of the time when I'm using this, you'll see it either in mod mode or in presets mode. Occasionally I'll have the sequencer up. So if I want to assign something to something, I decide, well, let's say that, let's see, what do I have here in my list so far that I haven't touched. Let's say I want to control, LFO2 rate. Okay, so I don't have that as a choice here on the matrix right now. Of course, it's not in focus, or is it? Let's see if I can get in. I have a closer shot of the matrix, which I believe is this one. Is it going there yet? Here we go. Okay, so you can see this a little closer. Sorry, the focus is a little off. But so I've got nothing in slot 8 of the matrix. So I can hold this button, decide I want it to control the LFO2 rate, I think we decided. So I hold this, twiddle this knob. So the LFO2 rate is now assigned to this column. And let's say I want to have, let's say I want to put the mod wheel, I want to have the mod wheel control that rate, because it's not doing anything else right now. So all I have to do is hold this button and turn this, get that to light up, and then I can turn this master knob to select the amount. Now I don't know what, let's see, so LFO2 is currently routed to master cutoff. Okay, so this should be interesting. So it's doing a slow, some rate of change. How much of it's going to cut off? Let's see. Alpha 2. Just a little bit. It's kind of subtle. So we'll turn that up. So let's see, I'm not hearing much of the rate. There's other interactions that I'm not sure what are going on. So I'm having some control over that. So anyway, that's how the mod matrix in this thing works. One of the other reasons I think the polybrute is, the reasons that I love the polybrute so much are, a lot of these whiz-bang synths that folks are talking about being the best synths and whatnot, they've got 2 envelopes and they've got 2 LFOs, and so I think in reality I like having 3 envelopes. I like having my amp envelope, my filter envelope, and another envelope that I can do something with. So I think that's something that sets this apart. Good night, Eric. Thanks for coming. Good to see you. And yeah, many hours of time disappear with this synth, and it's like, I come in here to do something, whatever that may be, and I'll sit down and I'll fool with this for a couple of minutes. 2 hours later, I haven't done the thing I came into the studio to do, and I've had a joyous time just fooling around with this guy. So it's just a joyful synth to work with, and I can't afford it. I would love to have a Polybrute 12. It would be. It's a desert island synth as far as I'm concerned, but I'm not gonna. As reality is, I'm not gonna be able to get one. I don't think, unless something magic happens. There's probably not a Polybrute 12 in my future, but that's okay. I'm still exploring. I'm still exploring this. I'm still exploring the Take 5. There's stuff that goes on in the Take 5 that the Take 5 ain't your mother's sequential. It's a different instrument than people say, oh, it's a scaled down or it's a cheap entryway to the Prophet. Well, no, it's not. It's a different synthesizer, and I've talked about this before, so I'm not gonna rail on that. Crazily like I have in the past. It's a different synthesizer than a Prophet, and we'll leave it at that. And there's stuff that goes on in here that goes on in the Take 5 that you can't do with a Prophet. So even though it's only got 2 oscillators and 2 envelopes and 2 LFOs, there's a huge amount of depth to this synth that you can't quite touch in a Prophet. Now, there's things you can do in a Prophet, by, there's things that you can do in a Prophet that you can't do in the Take 5. There are certain oscillator mixes that you can do in a Prophet that you can't do in a Take 5, but you can't do oscillator shape sweeping in a take 5 or in a Prophet, but you can on the take 5. So these are the things that make them different synths. And so there's that. And again, so this is another one. I haven't figured everything out about it. I learned something new about it. I've had this for 15 months now, I think it is 16 months, something like that. I learned something new about it yesterday, and I've got EQ to thank for that, actually. This business with the way the glide works. Which, of course, it's turned down really low now, but the glide action that's set up now, where if you're playing legato, you get this great glide. Now, if I lift up off these keys, so I'll do this with playing legato. And the glide's gone. So if I lift up off that last note, now I'm back into, if I lift up off the notes, then the glide goes away. So where that is, and this was discussed, it's on page 52 of the manual. But the setting to do that, and if you guys will excuse a really rude camera, another really rude camera move from the overhead camera, here it comes. So if we go into the program menu, I was looking. The reason I couldn't find it until I actually read the book EQ and EQ, and we got through it and found it. Program menu, glide mode. So if you have the default is fixed rate, and that no matter what you do, I can. Oops, wrong keyboard. So it glides no matter what I do, whether I lift up or not. Now, so the next thing is that note down there was the last one I hit. So if I come up here, it's a long time ago I hit that, it's still going to glide. So if you change this to fixed rate A, then there's a behavior of the glide. And so fixed rate basically uses the glide rate that is set with the, and I will zoom back out here, this button. So the glide rate knob controls the rate in ticks, call it ticks, that the glide is going to take. So the glide rate is, at that point, it's a certain amount of time per step, so or tone or note to glide. There's another mode called fixed time, and what that does is the glide rate controls the amount of time that it's going to take to do the glide. So in that mode, which I don't like as much, but in that mode, a glide from here to here takes the same amount of time as a glide from here to here. So I like the fixed rate. To me, it's a little more. I understand a little more about what it's going to do. So that's the. And I don't know if any of the other. If he's done that, if Dave did that in other synths or not, but that's how this one works. I think in the Prophet 600, Prophet 5, Pro 800 world, by default, glide just glides. You don't have that kind of refinement of control on those instruments. You may on the Rev 2. I don't know. And you may, I haven't, on the Pro 800. The Pro 800 is a Prophet 600 with the Glee upgrade that was available for the Prophet 600, that became available for the Prophet 600 in the 80s or 90s or whatever it was, 2000s, when he came up with that. So it's got that applied, plus new enhancements that Glee did specifically for the Pro 800. And so I haven't even gotten into digging into those things yet. So that's, you know, again, I don't need any more analog synths. I've got so much stuff to learn about just the ones that I have that, you know, they'll keep me busy for the rest of my life, I'm sure. Again, would love to have 12 voices of polybrute. It's okay. This is wonderful. I love this instrument. This, if I had to, if something happened and I had to downsize to bare minimum, it's a hard choice, but I think my choice would be polybrute in the computer and the excitable birds. You know, the Poly 12 is an insane synth, but for the most part, and there's a couple other minor differences, but for the most part, it's just two polybrutes in the same box. You know, does all the same things, just more voices. You have some neat things that you can do in the 12 with voice allocation. So you can set up your one layer to have, you know, 3 voices and the other 9 go to the other layer. So you could conceivably have one layer that's doing a baseline thing, or a part that really doesn't need a lot of need any polyphony to speak of, and you can set that to like low note priority, and so you're playing stuff on that, and it's always following your low note. And your other patch can use the other 9 voices and do whatever the heck you want to do, and you can morph back and forth between them. That's the coolest thing to me about the polybrutes, is it's a true morphing synthesizer. Even in places where it shouldn't be allowed to morph, it will try and morph. And so when you go back and forth between the two parts of the preset, you're actually, when you turn the knob or slide your finger on the morphe to do that transition between the two layers of the preset, it's like you've got 50 some hands, and you're pushing and turning every control on the synth. It's just okay, I'll have to take a look at that. So that's a thing. So to me, because the thing that sets the polybrutes apart from anything else out there is the way the morphing works. I have not found anything else that morphs in that manner, and I've looked, because I'd like to have a digital synth. I would like to have a digital synth that does that, and I haven't found one that really does that. Now, you know, it's going to come at a cost, I'm sure, and probably more money than I want to spend. But that's, you know, I'm surprised that somebody hasn't done it in a soft synth yet, and maybe they have. And if anybody knows, you know, hit me up in the Discord, leave a comment, whatever, because I check them all. I'd love to know. I'd love to have one, but I haven't found one yet. So. And like I say, Craig, I don't know. I haven't found one, and I have been looking. Hardware digital synth could do that would be very cool. Absolutely. And I don't see. I understand a bit about how DSPs work. I understand a bit about how FPGA stuff works. I understand a good bit about digital control. I mean, I understand a lot about digital control, and so I don't see any good reason that it's not been done or could not be done. And affordably. I would venture to bet. I would venture to bet that it could be done, based on what I know about the wave state and the mod wave from Korg. I would venture to bet that it could be done on a Raspberry Pi. I don't know how to do it. I'm not a programmer. I understand conceptually how all this stuff works. But I'm not a programmer, and I gave programming up decades ago. I don't see why it couldn't be done though. Hardware. Don't have a polybrute. Let's see. Let me punch back over so I can see what's going on. Let's see. Can't currently have it, man. Craig, I tell you what, the situations and stuff that you've been through have got to absolutely suck, because and I'm sorry you've been through anything that you've been through, because it's not. I hate people. I hate seeing that people can't do things they want to do. So there's the thing. Just a simple strip on the Microfreak. The Microfreak, my gosh, this thing, I've got one of those too. The thing is an amazing little synthesizer for $370, I think is what it is now. And so there have been conversations with the folks at Arturia about, step ups from the Microfreak, and we got the Mini Freak, and the Mini Freak was okay. And there was a whole series of conversations that was had after not NAMM last year, but NAMM the year before, a year or two before the Mini Freak showed up, as to what people wanted in the next iteration of the Freak. And I will say that Arturia listens, because we got the vast majority of what we wanted in that conversation. I mean, what I'm sad about the Mini Freak is that it has not gotten the updates that the Microfreak got, and so that saddens me. Now, that said, they were off busy building a couple other amazing things. So, when you're a relatively, even though Arturia is big, and we'll put that in air quotes, they're a relatively small company. So they have to use their resources wisely. And so they don't have, I don't think they have the resources to have 6 guys or gals working on Freaks, and another half dozen folks working on Brutes, and another dozen people working on software. I don't think they have that luxury. I mean, so they have to set priorities, exactly. And so, the Brute upgrade was the priority for right now. So now they can move around and do some updates for the Mini Freak, look at a Mega Freak, or as we were joking around during the discussions, the Super Freak. I would like. I'll tell you, I'm probably in the minority, but I really like the capacitive keyboard. I think it's a lot of fun. Yeah, Brutes on the Freaks and Freaks on the Brutes, and I'm not sure how we want to go with that. But anyway, I really like that capacitive keyboard. A lot of people don't get it, and I understand it's a different thing to play. But once you start to do it and get and understand it and get used to it, it is so much fun to play on the capacitive keyboard thing. And you know, it sends I think it actually sends poly aftertouch. Yeah, it's poly aftertouch. It's, you know, it's just a great thing. And so I would like to see a bigger freak with the bigger capacitive keyboard. The problem is, I think I'm in the minority. You know, I think, Will, you and I are the two people who really like that thing. You know, but I don't know, maybe there are more, and I would like to, you know, but I'd like to see a bigger version of that. I don't know that it necessarily needs to be 61 keys of that, but 49 or even 37, you know, would be a good size. And so you could make it at the same size as a mini freak. And so that way they could reuse some tooling. I think that would save them production costs and production time. And you know, so build more on that platform. And I'm sure that they're doing that behind the scenes. One thing about Arturia is they don't let you know anything about what they're doing unless you're an insider until they've done it. And they don't have very many insiders. So, you know, they're very tight-lipped. And so everything from them is always a joyous surprise, unless you've just bought the thing that, you know, is the thing that got upgraded. So it's a fun thing, and you know, so it's similar. Let's see, what else has a similar key affair? Well, oh, what's that thing that lives in a silver suitcase? The Buchla thing that lives in a silver suitcase. The whatever that thing's called. That plays similarly. And there are some other easel. I think it's called the easel, the Buchla easel. There's some other controllers out there that play similarly, but not the same. And so, you know, if you have a chance to step up to anything that's got a flat keyboard like that, give it a try, because it's similar. It's the same idea. You know, and so I think it's an interesting and fun and different, expressive way to play. In some ways, I'll go out on this limb, because in some ways I like it better than the MPE controllers that I've tried. And so I don't know about O Control, Tracy. I don't know what they've got. I know that there are a couple of Keith McMillan controllers that they're not the same, but they kind of sort of act the same, and they feel kind of the same. But none of them, and there are a few alternate controllers out there, none of them play like this thing does that I've tried. And I've tried half a dozen of them so far. You know, anytime I see a flat controller that I can play with. Hans, how are you, man? Good to see you. Thanks for coming. My gosh, you're catching me just as I'm about to go away. Or I'll talk for a little bit longer, but you know, getting ready to head out the door, because I do have an early meeting tomorrow. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. I think if we could get a bigger micro freak the micro freak way, you know, with that controller, I would love that. And that could be, for me, that unabashedly digital synth that I, you know, the macro freak, super freak, monster freak, whatever, you know, Mongo freak. Here's one. Here's one. Let's make it bitimbral and call it and have it be the multi-freak. You know, there's this or there's so many different things you could do. You know, and I think it's a great platform to start on. And I just wish they would build more on it. I'm sure they will. You know, again, as we said earlier, priorities, and you know, they were working on something else. You know, who knows what they're going to cycle back to or when. So anyway. I think I'm going to wind down. Like I said, I've got an early day tomorrow and a long one. We can obviously continue Poly Freak, Mega Freak, Super Freak. Super Freak, you know, the thing with Super Freak, we talked about Super Freak. I think you missed it, Hans. When we shortly after right after NAMM, before the Mini Freak came out, like a year and a half before the Mini Freak actually came out. There were a bunch of us who had a discussion with the folks at Arturia about what we wanted in the next Freak, and we were kind of joking about calling it the Super Freak, but we don't think Rick James would let that go. I'm sure that Rick James or the record company would be all over that for the name. Parrot Freak. There we go, Craig. Parrot Freak. So anyway. I think that's going to do it for me tonight. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody for coming by. I do appreciate it. It's been one of the longer streams too. My gosh, how long are we into this thing? We're 2 hours and 20 minutes. My gosh, I've never had one this long, I don't think. But anyway, I will probably turn the volumes up again a little bit, play out a little bit, and that'll be that. Again, thanks everybody for coming by. Have a great rest of your day, evening, morning, night, whatever it is you've got going on, wherever you are in the world. Once again, appreciate everybody. If you would, I'd love it if you would hit the like button on your way out the door, press the little thumbs up thing. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, would love for you to subscribe to the channel. And, you know, all that stuff, I'll come over here to, you know, my new macro thing and press on that. That'll come up, you know, and put the little bar up there. And in the meantime, I'll play some music, and then I'll just kind of fade away for the evening. So thanks all. We'll see y'all soon. So I don't know if it's happening. Not sure. On the schedule, so to speak, next Sunday might be one of the Jamtaba events. If it goes, that will be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. If we have one, I don't know if I'll stream the following night. I probably will. I did the last time, and it was fine. But we'll see. So anyway, play next week by ear. Watch for postings. On Discord and on my channel and on my website and all those things. So looking forward to, it would be an hour before Luke's live stream, exactly, Craig, is when we've been doing them. We do them for about an hour, and then we have like an after party at Luke's place, is the way it usually works. So anyway, again, I'm gonna head out of here. It's getting late, and again, thanks all. Man, this has been a lot of fun. So if I haven't said hi or bye to you tonight, I'm really sorry. I usually like to try and hit everybody, but you know, we miss sometimes. So yeah, you might be awake by then. So thanks, Eternium. Appreciate it. Thanks, Craig, Hans. Thanks for dropping by. Tracy, Will, and Wabbit, who was here. Luke, who had to leave EQ. Jeff was here, and Eric was here, and you know, my gosh, such a great time. So we'll see y'all next time. Thanks a lot.